Now, moving on to the NFC West.
Can we go 4-1?
You want to go 4-1?
Yeah, I want to end it talking about the 49ers.
All right. So fourth place, let's go. Arizona Cardinals have $30 million in cap space. Cut candidate for this team was a little bit hard to find for me. The one that I chose is talking about he's not old and he's an all-pro, but how much money do you want to dump in a safety conversation?
Are you going to talk about Budda Baker? Are you going to slander Budda Baker?
I'm not slandering Budda Baker. He's a great player.
You're slandering Budda Baker.
No, you're twisting this. You're going to cut it up and you're going to twist it.
And say, look at this guy with this weird beard talking bad about Budda Baker, the only talent you guys have on your team.
I think if you are going to move off a guy who commands a ton of money, Budda's definitely that guy who's going to be a candidate for it. I don't think it happens, but he does command 14.6. Excuse me. He will save you $14.6 million from a cut. So if you want to, it's there, but I just think it's unlikely. Can you find somebody to be a cut candidate for this team?
I think it's Budda Baker, to be honest with you. Maybe James Conner.
Yeah, he was the other one.
And then I like him as a player, but the money, Kaiser White at middle linebacker, it's just not a place that a lot of teams invest money into.
Yeah. And Kaiser, is Kaiser the converted safety to linebacker, or is he the linebacker? So he's almost in an awkward position too. How many teams use a guy like that and utilize him? We're seeing a lot of safety to linebacker transitions. I mean, the Cowboys did it with their safety to linebacker this year, Bell, and he played phenomenal. So,
and they've been trying to do it for a couple of years. They signed. He's not on their team anymore. Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah,
they drafted Isaiah Simmons, and I remember he was the George Kittle stopper, and he ain't on the team anymore.
Yep. This was the only team I had a hard time talking about a re-sign candidate. You could talk about Marquise Brown if you'd like to. I just don't know if I like the idea of bringing Marquise Brown back to the team. If you like the idea because of a healthy Kyler and with a potential Marvin Harrison Jr. on the other side to alleviate some of the pressure. Michael Wilson was a rookie last year and he had a decent year. So is that your re-sign guy, or do you have someone else in mind?
Marquise Brown is the only player on the Arizona Cardinals that's a re-sign candidate that played more than 50% of the snaps last year. So realistically, everybody else on that roster is not an important piece. Marlon Mack, you know what I mean? That type of player. So it really is just Marquise Brown, even though I don't think that's something they're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest target has to be wide receiver, though. I think that's where it has to be at. Even if you draft a Marvin Harrison Jr., you have to have more weapons for Kyler Murray at the end of the day. And $30 million in cap space with a potential cut of Budda Baker, that definitely frees you up for your biggest target and a guy like T. Higgins. 3 years, $70.5 million. That's $23.5 million a year. That's a little bit over. I forget what the website calls it, but there's another website and he's projected like 17.5 or 18. I think he's closer around that 23, maybe a little less, but $23.5 million a year, $45 million in fully guaranteed with the first year cap hit of $7.5 million. So I think that's the direction that they could go. What about you?
Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
That seems like the landing spot for Calvin Ridley. I'm sure you probably didn't want to use him more than once, but
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I'll use my Calvin Ridley card here or my Josh Reynolds card here.
Oh, okay, cool. And my sleeper was Darnell Mooney. So 2 years, $16 million contract, $8 million a year, $8 million in guarantees, and his first year cap hit being $4.6 million. I think Darnell Mooney could be a really good fit for this team. Don't forget, we're only a couple years removed from a 1,000-yard season with inconsistent quarterback play. He could be a good wide receiver in the right situation. That's money, Mooney. So put respect on it.
I'll give you a sleeper, DJ Chark.
Okay, nice. A guy who's kind of been up. Where is he now? Where's Shark?
Isn't he? Doesn't he play for the Jaguars? No, the Panthers. He's a Panther, isn't he?
I
That's why
was
you
gonna
don't.
say,
That's
I
why you
was
don't
like,
know anything about him. He's a
yeah,
Carolina
there we
Panther.
go, right?
It feels like we make these. Here. This is what the Cardinals are going to do. We just made a really good argument for a couple of really good wide receivers, and they're going to go out and hand a bag to Michael Thomas and Odell Beckham. That seems like what they'll do because Kyler will get his way.
Oh man. Oh, you heard it here first on the pod. If it happens, man. Oh, I almost want that to happen so I can save this and then send it and be like, yo, he said it, you know?
Just saying.
All right. Third place, Seattle Seahawks. They are negative $9 million in cap space. Number one cut candidate to me has to be Jamal Adams. We're talking about 2020 was his last good year and 2019 being his last elite year, saving $16.5 million in cap space for, again, we're talking about cuts for a safety.
Yeah,
I think he has to be the cut here, dude. Unless you have someone else.
I think they could cut either safety. To be honest with you, I think
Quandre.
I think they could cut him. I think they could cut Quandre. And to be honest with you, I know everybody loves him, but I think they could cut Ty Lockett as well. He's like 33 years old.
Yeah, he's definitely getting up there. You have his replacement sitting right there, ready to go, super talented. I think when it comes to Quandre, I think we're more likely to see an extension or a restructure for Quandre than a full cut.
Don't get me wrong. I agree with you. I think Jamal Adams is obvious, but it doesn't. I agree with Jacob. I agree that's no fun for a podcast. So
right. Big re-sign guy, Leonard Williams, 3 years, $52.5 million. You invested, and we're going to have this conversation with another team here pretty soon too. You invested 2 draft picks into this guy, a second and a fifth, I believe it was. I think you bring him back again, 3 year, $52.5 million, $17.5 million in 17.5 a year with $27.5 in guarantees. His first year cap hit will be $7 million is the projection. That's my guy.
I'll go with their center, Evan Brown. He played over 95% of the snaps this year, and he's not going to command a huge contract. And so, that would be a smart signing. They'll probably try to bring back Bobby Wagner instead, but I would go with their center, Evan Brown.
Both their linebackers I think are free agents, right? Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner. So, I think they. Do you
Jordan
think
Jordan Brooks isn't a 3-down player,
right?
So I don't know how much you bring a player like that back. Obviously, I think Bobby Wagner, he had an incredible year in terms of health. He played like 95% of their snaps, but
I think he led the league in tackles.
He's like 47 years old at this point, so I'm not sure if you're bringing
right.
I mean, it's Leonard Williams, let's be honest, but
a
case for the center as well.
For sure. I think their biggest target, in my opinion, has to be that defensive line still. Edge rusher is where you go. I think Danielle Hunter could be a good fit here. 3 years, $67.5 million, 22.5 a year, and $40 million in guarantees. First year cap hit is $9 million. I think that's a direction. If you're taking a big swing, I think you go that way. Again, aging, but has performed the last couple of years and does not get talked about. So I think that's where I go.
Yeah, Brian Burns.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe a Zadarius Smith, something like that. I honestly, I kind of have this theory that he seems like a Seahawk, but he hasn't been. He's a cut candidate for a team that we haven't discussed yet. But there's a edge rusher out there in New England that may not be on the team next year. That would be a pretty enticing free agent for a lot of people. So,
oh wow!
Spoiler alert on Judon there. So.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because my sleeper is Josh Uche. So 1 year, $8.5 million is his projection, $4.5 million in guarantees. So that's funny you bring it up. So that's my sleeper, though.
I'll give you Jadeveon Clowney as a sleeper.
Yeah, I saw that one a lot too. And
had a good
he played
year.
in Seattle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a really good year. And I think it's funny. The PFF put out a one free agent that every team cannot let go or they cannot afford to let go. And I believe that Jadeveon Clowney was there for the Ravens. and people were freaking out and being like, he sucks, he doesn't do anything, da 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 da. And again, if you don't know the year that Jadeveon Clowney had, you got to go do some research because he's had a legit year.
Well, and there's a reason for my pick there. I don't know if you know who the Seahawks' new head coach is, but he did pretty good with Jadeveon last year. So
yeah, for sure. Moving on to second place, the Los Angeles Rams, $23 million in cap space. Cut candidate has to be Joe Noteboom. It is a guard / tackle. Played guard this year. He's played tackle in the past. $15 million saved in cutting this dude. I'm like, damn, that's a lot of money to be cut. Just have me wrapped up in this dude. You got to cut a guy like this. Easy.
Yeah, that's again. I don't want to do this thing where I disagreed or agreed with everything. So I guess I can go with maybe Brian Allen. It's their center. He makes a lot of money, and he wasn't exactly super great this year. But yeah, I mean, you're right.
And then I think they got my re-signed guy. I'm going to pick all the obvious guys, and Drew Higgins obviously has to do all the digging. So you got to turn around and you got to invest that money into the guard. Kevin Dotson, incredible year, 4 years, $72 million, $18 million a year, $36 million in guarantees. First year cap hit being $6 million. So that's my guy.
Every time my phone goes off, I hope for breaking news so I can be like, yes. Okay. You want me to dig a little deep here?
All right.
Must re-sign for the Los Angeles Rams is one, Carson Wentz. Future starting quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams.
What?
Come on, bro. He's got so much talent, and people don't like him. He's got an attitude, but so does Sean McVay. They're a match made in heaven. Look what he did to Baker. He turned Baker around.
Oh, man.
Carson Wentz. Come on, bro. Get with it.
That's one I wasn't. I'll get with it. All right.
Well, let me go first, and I'll go chalk like you keep going. But what do you want me to say? Brett Maher, their kicker. What's wrong with Carson Wentz?
I think biggest target for the Rams, in my opinion, has to be a corner. You swing big. L'Jarius Sneed, 4 years, $64 million, $16 million a year, $35 million in fully guaranteed money. First year cap hit, $8.25 million if you're going big.
I agree on corner. Stephon Gilmore is a free agent. I believe that he won't be back next year.
Yeah, that's my sleeper pick. Yeah, definitely.
Former Cowboy Cheeto. I won't try to say his last name. You can say it because I'm sure you have it. Yep. And played for the Ravens this year, Rocky Asen. So there's some good corners out there, I think, and that makes a lot of sense for the Ravens.
Yeah, for sure. And again, my sleeper pick was going to be Stephon. 1 year, 8.5 is what he's projected at currently.
Nice. I nailed it.
So I'm going to let you take the full reins on this one. I'll just go Niners first, negative $11 million in the cap space. I'll let you take first on all these. Cut candidate. Who's your cut candidate?
I think if we had done this 2 weeks ago, I would have told you it was Eric Armstead, which that's a huge thing for the 49ers to do because he's the heart and soul of that defense. People may not know it, but he's Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee every year. He's everything to that defense, and I would have told you he was the number one cut candidate. But unfortunately, I don't even want to put this on the podcast because I don't want 49ers fans coming at me fucking sideways over this because I'm with you. But I would take a strong look at cutting Dre Greenlaw in the offseason.
Yeah, that
you may never get it back.
Yeah, and just for background for the Niners fans, when we were watching the Super Bowl, I texted Drew and I said, "Damn, Dre is hyped out there." And he texts back, he has to relax. And literally 5 minutes later, he blows out his Achilles. It's a shame he didn't hear him through the TV because he would have known, yeah, you're right, man, I have to relax. because
Yeah,
yeah, disappointing.
I
That
think
would
he
save him
makes.
8.6.
I was going to say 9 million next year.
Yeah. Yeah, the only other guy I wrote down was Eric Armstead, just because you brought him up one time, and this was weeks ago. That's $18 million, but he had a really good performance in the Super Bowl. Always seemed to show up and be where it's supposed to be. So
And as we
yeah,
continue to go through these teams for the three viewers, um, sorry, we're looking at big time cut candidates to save a lot of cash. Obviously, the 49ers, they can cut a lot of players and save little bits of increment amount of money. But what's the biggest cut they can make that makes sense to save the most amount of money is how we go after that. And that's why we're talking about a player like Eric Armstead or Dre Greenlaw. As far as a must re-sign,
yeah,
I mean, honestly, I would tell you it's Jawan Jennings, but I'm not sure if we're going to invest money in our third wide receiver spot. So I'm going to go a little weird and I'm going to say Cleveland Farrell because our run defense fell off a cliff when he went under the IR at the end of the season there, which put Chase Young into an every down role, which he's clearly not suited for as constructed in the Steve Wilkes offense. So, the only other thought I really had on this was Tayshaun Gibson, but I think with Hufanga coming back next year and Jair Alexander stepping up in his wake, I think he's ready to take over that other safety spot. And the 49ers don't play, their safeties are interchangeable. They're more of hybrid roles. So I would say probably Cleveland Farrell.
you think
Why?
there's
I
a
mean, you can let him spend the whole season on a fucking cruise and then start him in the playoffs. Why bring him back? You can sign him later for cheap.
you think there's a chance for Chase Young to come back? I mean, you invested a draft pick to trade for him. Was he just a half a year rental type thing? Or are you
I,
investing money into that?
he didn't produce enough for us to bring him back at the money that he's going to command. If he goes to the 49ers and says, I want to come back, I'm not going to look at any other free agency spots, then potentially. But I just think the name and the bullshit, it's just for, the, the commanders told us, Mike Silver reported it when we traded for him, like, hey, this guy is not like, you guys didn't just get Deron Payne. You didn't just get Montez Sweat. And we're like, no, Chase Young, Chase Young, Chase Young. And then he got on the field and he was like doing an inside twist to try to rush up the middle. And the freaking running back went that way. And you're like, that's your job. Set the fucking edge, you guy. So
Yeah,
I don't see that. Not at the money he's going to command.
is 15.5 on a 1 year deal too steep? Because that's what he's projected.
Yes, too steep.
Yeah. Okay. And then what about your biggest target? What's your biggest need, and who are you going after?
I think the biggest need is offensive line, but I think we're going to take an offensive lineman in the first round, and we don't have a ton of money to play with. If we lose Jawan Jennings, then we might have to go get a wide receiver, but again, that can be replaced in the draft. So I haven't really dived into this. Obviously, Diamador Lenore came on late at corner, so I
Yeah,
think we're
for
good
sure.
there.
And he had a good Super Bowl performance too.
Maybe replacing Dre Greenlaw. Maybe you can go get shit. Let's just go get Levante David or Devin White and just call it a day.
Hmm.
Just completely replace him. But maybe the Chargers don't bring back Kenneth Murray. He's really talented. It's probably some type of defensive line depth, to be honest
Hmm.
with you, because no matter how much we pay that defensive line, we continue to stock it up and bring in more players. So who would you say?
I agreed with you. I think you're going to take an offensive lineman. I think you're going to take a tackle. The Mike McGlinchey replacement has not really worked out that well, which it's not like the Mike McGlinchey thing was working out anyways. There is a reason why he was a replacement.
Correct.
What do you think about going after a guard? Because that's kind of what I have slated for you guys right now.
What's kind of interesting is Laken Tomlinson was with us, and then he signed a fat bag for the Jets, and he's a cut candidate for the Jets. Spoiler alert for that episode. I wouldn't be surprised to see us bring someone like Laken Tomlinson back because he won't be as expensive, and he already knows the scheme, and he's very, very good at the outside zone runs that we like to run.
Yeah. So I have you guys slated with a guard right now, and if you're gonna swing big at a guy who has a small projected first year cap hit, I'm reusing a guy. He was a re-sign for the Rams, but I'm going to use him as a target if he's available. Kevin Dotson, if he's available and you can get him, that first year cap it, and then you guys just deal with moving around the money to the coming of years. Kevin Dotson has to be that guy, and the sleeper after that is also a guard. So, who do you got
For my sleeper?
Yeah,
Can I give you like 6?
yeah, go ahead.
Hunter Henry, Dalton Schultz, Noah Fant, Austin Hooper, Mike Gesicki, any of those.
What happens?
The 49ers.
George Kittle was the only tight end with 1,000 yards this season. And the Dalton Schultz is not the best blocking tight end, and George Kittle, when it comes to receiving and blocking, is one of the best, if not the best, in the league currently. How does that work between those two guys? If you get a guy like Dalton Schultz,
we run a ton of 2 tight end. We need another guy out there. We tried to do it a couple years back with the Washington guy, Reed. What was
Jordan Reed?
Concussions, Jordan Reed. And he actually scored a couple touchdowns with us, but unfortunately Kittle was hurt when he was healthy, and he was hurt when Kittle was healthy. We never got to put it on the field together. They tried to sign Austin Hooper in free agency, weren't able to get him. I'm a big believer in Hunter Henry. I really like him as a player, and I think that Kyle really likes 2 tight ends that can catch the ball, and to be able to hold George Kittle in to block and still have the middle of the field open to a dynamic tight end, I think would be big for us. Actually, I'm almost in love with the idea of adding a really good pass catcher tight end to replace Jawan Jennings if we're not able to keep him instead of a third wide receiver, because we don't go third wide too often. 3 wide.
My sleeper for you guys, again, is a guard. I'm going Vaitai from the Lions. He was on IR all year, so you could probably get him for pretty cheap, and a guy who's performed really well in the past. I don't know why I envision him as a Niner so heavily. I can almost feel like I could bet on this. All right, you ready for this? So his name, Halapuli Vatai. I get points for trying.
Poo-poo tie. Got it.
So, that's my sleeper pick for you guys. And that wraps up the free agency for the AFC and NFC West. We're going to move on to 2 divisions. Same thing, another AFC and another NFC division the next week. And we're going to hit the same thing. So if you are curious about your team and that division, go ahead and stay tuned. I wanted to do a deal or no deal, but we're already at the hour 55 mark. I think we should just save that to next week.
It is Valentine's Day after all.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and save that deal or no deal for next week. So all 2 viewers, I'll lower it, can look forward to that one.
Damn, bro, week. I just dropped fire content. We lost a viewer.
yeah.
Listen, this is all you got to do is just cut the part where I said that we should cut Dre Greenlaw and blast it out on all our social channels, and we'll get a ton of comments and hate.
Yeah, that's true. All right, man. So appreciate everybody for sticking through with the podcast. You made it this long. As usual, we will see you next week. He's Let's Go Kings for him.
It's basketball season.
Yeah, we're in off-season mode. Over. Basketball season. Let's go Celtics. And in the next coming weeks, we'll have free agency and more basketball topics upcoming. So for the basketball fans out there, we're coming. All right. Appreciate you guys. Peace.